Good morning, friends. We are making Cotswold today. Cotswold is like a stirred curd cheddar type of thing. It's from England and it has good stuff in it. Chives, granulated garlic, and dried onions. And that makes it extra delicious and it is fabulous and people love it and I made it lots of times. I am using Gavin Weber's recipe, but I am doing a couple things different. This cheese calls for Mesophilic culture, but instead of using a freeze-dried one, I am using my own Clabber Culture. Let me see if it's thick enough. Oh yeah, it's totally thick enough. So we're good to go. So now this actually would be a good beverage, kind of like a lassi. Go taste it, because I always believe it's important to taste the food that you're making. It's actually quite delicious. It does taste more and more like a yogurt to me. It's really good. I can see drinking this. I can see blending it up with a banana or adding maple syrup to it and drinking it. That's good. This is full fat milk, 7 and a little bit extra gallons. A ton of cream, very thick cream. It could be partially skimmed, but I just didn't feel like skimming my milk this morning. This is a Mesophilic cheese, which means that the temperature that the highest it's going to get to is 104 degrees. About 106 and above is considered a thermophilic cheese. This is on the higher end of a mesophilic cheese at 104 degrees. Right now it's 90 though. So I'm going to add my Clabber Culture. Now I'm going to let this ripen for 45 minutes. So now it's time to add the annatto. To color the cheese, Cotswold is just like light yellowish color, thinking cheddar, not orange, just a little bit. So I'm gonna put in 25 drops. 1, 2, 3. This is on the lighter side. I think the recipe actually calls for a little bit more annatto than this, but I like to keep it a pale yellow. I just don't need that much. Dilute it with a little bit of water. So it doesn't look like there's hardly anything in here at this point. When you express all the whey, then it will like intensify in color. This is the rennet I get from New England Cheesemaking Supply. I actually scaled down a little bit on this rennet because I find that my cheeses do better without too much rennet. So 1.5 teaspoons of rennet. All right, I can see it's already starting to thicken a bit. It just is a little bit more sludgy and shows more definition in a slow way. Oh, it's setting up quick. The instructions say that this is supposed to set up for 45 minutes. My notes, or at least on one of them, said it took me an hour and a half. I'm gonna check it in 30 minutes just because that seemed to be setting up pretty quickly. And this is kind of warm and it might work. Look, it's pretty firm. Split down in, then lift. That's pretty good. I am going to give it another 10 minutes though, just because it feels kind of relaxed and I want to feel a little bit more confident. Oh yeah, right there, those little half moons that are like upside down, that's where I was poking it with the blade going like that, and that made indentations. Let's cut this now and see how it is. Oh yeah, that's more firm. You see how that difference is? It stands up more, it's more solid. So just coming in with this whisk, I'm gonna cut it up. Now it's gonna rest to heal for 5 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna be doing a little bit of multitasking. These have healed for 5 minutes, and now I'm going to stir them for 20 off heat, and then I'm going to stir it for about 35 minutes, raising the temperature to 104 degrees. While I'm doing that, I am drinking my coffee, and I am going to be on a Zoom call. I will continue to film and do whatever, but sometimes I may have to talk, and then don't worry about it. So next hour, here we go. This is what it's like right now. It's very soft, tender. I'm going to turn the heat on, turn it on low, and I'll just be turning the heat off and on and speed it up and slow it down as I need to keep this going at the right pace. These curds taste delicious. There's a ton of whey. It feels like I have hardly any curds in here. So it'll be interesting to see how much I get in the press. They're small like that, and they are rubbery and bouncy like that. And if I can squeeze them together, squeezing pretty hard, and they stick. So I think they're done. These do not taste like fat cow cheese or a softer curd cheese where it's juicy. These are firm. Listen. Do you hear that squeak? They have really neat texture, and I don't want to dry them out too much. I don't want this to go on and just get to be a dry cheese, because then it's just not as good. I think I'm going to call this done. Let this settle to the bottom for 5 minutes, and then I'll come back. Nickel, I need you now. Lest you think I'm a health nut for making my own cheese. I love Twizzlers. How soon, Nicholas? Nickel! Oh, my bad. Yes, I don't want to lose the curds. Okay, stop. Don't shake it because you don't want to disturb the curds. It's good. It's leaning forward. Let me do this. I'm just going to press on it briefly. Okay, that's good. Now comes the fun part. This is how we're going to make it into a Cotswold cheese. Oh, there's more whey now. Not going to worry about it. I'm going to stir it all up. It'll be fine. We're going to add a tablespoon of salt per gallon of milk, so that's 7 tablespoons of salt, 7 teaspoons of chives and dried onion flakes, and granulated garlic, about 1 3/4 teaspoons. So now I just massage it in. I'm kind of breaking this up and going to work it in. The salt is expressing more of the whey. Just get in and break up some of the big chunks. It tastes very salty, which is good. You want it to. You want it to taste more salty than you want the final cheese to be, because that salt absorbs and becomes less strong. You can see there's still some big lumps, so there's nothing in the middle of that, but as it presses, it will get through. The curds don't have to be like a fine, loose crumble like that. Big chunks like this size are fine. So this is kind of stirred curd cheddar. You just keep stirring periodically, but I'm not gonna do that. This is enough. It smells buttery, herby, garlicky, oniony, delicious, warm, creamy sweetness. It's an amazing, amazing smell. And it tastes so good, like sunshine. 50% white vinegar, 50% water. Spray things down with this and then wipe it up. I just used this a few days ago, so I'm not gonna clean it out really well. I'm gonna get this cheesecloth with warm water. I could also dunk it in whey if I wanted to. I'm going to spritz it down with just a little bit of vinegar. This helps the cheese not stick to the cloth. And then I always put a spoon, lifts up the back side of this so that it tilts into the sink easier. This yellow color will intensify a little bit as it's pressed, but this is pretty close to what the final color is going to be, which is exactly what I wanted. So I should have put this in beforehand, then it would have filled in easier. Okay, hold it right there, don't stop it. Okay, put that in the bathtub. Thank you. I'm gonna let this just sit for a little bit. I'll wait like 10 minutes and come back. So it is down right to the level. So I'm gonna take these two things out. Slip this down in there just a little bit, just so it sticks and doesn't pop back up. This is a cheese that gets pressed a little bit harder in the beginning. The salt was added to the curds, which means it takes a little bit more pressure to knit the curds together. They become more individualized, so you need to press them harder to get them together. Any cheddar-y type cheeses takes more pressure. But you don't want the whey to be coming out. You don't want it to be creamy, getting that out. So I don't know what I'm gonna start at. I do medium pressure, medium, a little bit heavy. It's running out the sides, but it's clear. It looks good. As it settles, I will push it down again. In about 45 minutes, I'll come back and probably flip it. Pushed it down once. It's settling. It's down to here, which is excellent. Let's just take it over here and flip it. The reason I'm showing you all the steps of this cheese making process is because I feel there's so much mystery involved in making cheese, and the one thing I can do is demystify it by showing what it means to flip a cheese, what it means to take it out and flip it again, what it means to press it at higher pressure. Is the cheesecloth wet when you're flipping it? Do you always get a new cheesecloth? No, you don't. That's why I'm showing it from the beginning to the end, every single step of the way, because that's how you get a feel for it. I've made dozens of cheeses and I'm still getting a feel for it, which doesn't mean you shouldn't ever start. Please start. You can do this. Once in a while it's going to be absolutely terrible, but most of the time it's going to be adequate. And then sometimes it's going to be spectacular. And over time, you're going to become more and more competent. Your cheeses will become more consistently fine. There'll be even more surprises of spectacularness and fewer failures. Have you had Cotswold cheese yet, Rebecca?
No.
Smell it.
What is it?
What do you smell?
Hot dogs.
It's not hot dogs, but it does. It's onions and garlic. 712. 7 pounds, 12 ounces. And this was 7 gallons of milk. So yeah, spot on. Okay, so I took this out of the press last night and I flipped this a couple times. It is dry and it is smelling really good. This feels a little bit wet still. You can see it's starting to crack there. I don't know if you can tell there's little cracks. Oh, that's wet there too. Is there stuff on the, no, it's not. There's also these like gaps, but that's where the onion flakes are. I'm gonna let this keep air drying a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna have to cut it in half and vac pack it. It was kind of warm weather, and I noticed it was starting to get a little bit of grease on my hands. It wasn't moisture, it wasn't water, it was the oil. So I just moved it down to the cheese cave, the one that's set at 50 to 55 degrees, the big one, and let it sit there, and I flipped it a couple times. Now it is feeling nice and clammy. So now it's gonna be vac packed. I'm gonna cut it in half, stick it in the bag, and age it for another couple months. Oh, it smells so good. This cheese is delicious. It just smells like sandwiches and lunchtime and perfection. Made it 4/12, today's 4/16. This can be eaten as soon as 1 month, so 5/12, or you can wait longer, 3 months. I'm gonna say, I don't know, let's say 2 months. So it's gonna be ready 6/12/23. So this is a good cheese to make if you want to eat it fairly quickly, or if you want to wait. It's very flexible. Hey, hey, guess what we're gonna do today? We're gonna taste the Cotswold. It's almost 2 months old, and I've been waiting this whole time. I could have actually tasted it at the 1 month mark, but I waited. So patiently be proud of me. Oh, it's slimy. It's very snotty. It broke. I've never had that happen. That's the first time. Look at that. That's kind of cool. I busted up a cheese. Let's taste this. Where's my glasses? I have to be able to look at it more closely. So it's a little bit slimy on the outside, like there's whey. So we just blot that up. It smells really good. It smells like onions and garlic and chives. It's absolutely delicious. I'm getting actual crunches of, I don't know, is it the chives? Like I'm actually crunching vegetables. It feels really good. There's no weird flavor from the Clabber. It's just a delicious cheese. Clabber Culture is amazing. I want to see how it slices. I cut my gum. Ow. Darn crackers. Like, be careful when you eat crackers. They could hurt you. The thing I'm noticing right now, I really did cut my gum. Ow. The cheese tastes a little bit dry to me. Not bad dry, but a little bit dry. I cooked those curds not even the full amount of time. I mean, I cooked them to the right temperature, but I only stirred them for 15 minutes instead of 30. I was thinking this is starting to feel a little bit dry. Maybe I need to trust myself a little bit more and dial it back. It's totally fine. It's great. Yeah, its slice is creamy. That's a really nice cut. So it's a crumblier cheese, which you would expect from a cheddar. It's not too salty at all. I bet I could have done more. It's a really fine cheese. If you feel like you are getting something from this, give a thumbs up to the video because that helps other people find it and that helps me know that I'm doing a good job in giving you information that's helpful. So thanks for doing that. Okay, gotta package these up. If you want to see another video that's similar to Cotswold, another cheddar, I suggest you go look at the Derby cheese, which is another way for saying a cheddar cheese. There's so many different kinds, so many different nuances. It's just a cheddar. It's a Derby cheddar. Check out that video right here if you want to make a really good, fun cheese. Some of these will go down to the cheese cave, where I will just store them for our family's consumption. Some of them go out to the barn fridge, where people are welcome to help themselves.